story short, it was about February 2nd or so that I found out that I actually had triple negative cancer. I would say that I was shocked. But I'd had that time because of the blood clot and that kind of thing to sort of know that things weren't good, that they weren't going to call me the next day and say it was just a cyst or something like that, So I'd had a little bit of time to sort of subconsciously, process that. But when I did get the call, it was funny because I had my pen there and everything, and this lady with this creaky voice, I love her to death, but she really shouldn't be the one who calls people and tells them they have cancer, because she's just like, hello, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm already freaking out, and you got this creaky voice in my ear. And you have, she said, you have a cancer, it's aggressive, and she goes, why don't you grab a pen? And I already had a pen, so I was writing down, and I wrote down, why don't you grab a pen? I was writing down everything she said, because I think I'd gone into some sort of stage of shock almost, sitting on the bed. And then there's just this shock period where you just have to tell yourself you have cancer, and you got it. Now what do you do? You have to get through that. Mine, fortunately, was very, very small. They caught it through mammogram, so I would encourage everyone to get their mammogram every year, timely, because I almost postponed mine. And in a few more months, because of the weather, in a few more months, I might not have had the same chances I have now. But it's one of the more aggressive kinds, and you can't take any of the tamoxifen and herpessin and all those other things because they are not hormone receptive. So it's very aggressive. It metastasizes really quickly to the brain or the liver or wherever. So the only good thing about it is it doesn't have the long-term stability in your body. After 5 years, I should be pretty darn good. I don't think I'm gonna have to worry about it. Whereas people with positive hormone receptors have to worry about it for 20 years coming back. So that's the positive about negative, is what they say. So that's the kind of cancer I had. So it wasn't real exciting. You look up on the internet and Google it and all that stuff, and it's like, you're dead. But that's not, really what happens, hopefully. I'm the oldest, so I'm number 1. No, that's what I always tell them. But it's great. It's nice to have a big family. I had a lot of cousins that we were all very close to, and grew up with on the weekends and that kind of thing. But I was the firstborn, so it's a little different. I think you have more responsibility than the others do. At least in my family, you did. I had to take care of the little guys, Yeah, we used to go to the my cousin's cottage almost every weekend, and those were fun times. And just sleeping in beds with 5 other cousins, and the same old thing, just chicken dinners and fun at the lake, and being with your relatives, and playing dolls with my cousins and my little sister and things like that. And then of course my little brother and I are very close, and I always took care of him. So we had a lot of fun growing up. Yeah, Brendan is my youngest son, and he's a soccer player. He was all-state soccer this year, all county, all district, all everything. Most valuable player. He's a forward, but he's also an attacking mid, and he's really good. And Messi is his favorite player, and he plays very much like Messi. And he always grew up kind of small in sports. That's not his only sport. He played baseball, basketball, and he had to really choose between basketball and soccer when he got to high school. He chose soccer, obviously. And although he's just as good at basketball, but he's always loved soccer. And my older son was a level 10 gymnast. So I had 2 very different type athletes, but 2 high-level athletes. And he can do a triple back or whatever. He could stand over here right now and just spring up and do something that's amazing. So that's how we ended up owning the gym too. Is that he was a level 10 gymnast, and at the time there weren't any other gyms in town that had such a high male program. The 2 boys, watching the 2 boys in their different sports, they both exert themselves in different ways. When you're a gymnast, you fall a lot, and you have to be pretty tough just to keep falling. I mean, the first thing you do is when you take little kids in, they learn how to fall from the high bar so they don't hurt themselves, which is not always the case, but you learn certain falls. And I think that's part of what Justin's good at. He knows how to fall and get back up. And I would say that that's one of the things that had made him very successful in every way, you know. He's, you know, but that's how you become a really good gymnast. You just let yourself fall, and then you have to get back up. He was a teeny tiny little thing, and he was born, and my two boys were really different. He came into the world very quietly, just like he is now, very quiet, very tiny. And then Brendan came into the world like, just like bellowing, and that's kind of how he is too. He's bold, he's, you know, he's very stubborn, he's, you know, very out there. But that would be the differences between my boys are unbelievable. They're two different people. They're like extremes. And that's also part of my cancer thing is that, but the funny part was where I'm describing my boys, Justin emoted, overly emoted on some ways, and Brendan underly emoted. So it's kind of, you know, interesting because it's almost the direct opposite of what their personalities were. Are should be a better word. But yeah, so that was my memory of Justin being born is just sweet. My memory of Brendan being born is like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I told my kids, oh, well, Brendan was just living in the house, and he was just there for all of it, you know, kind of thing. The calls, the discussion, he was just included in everything. And maybe but then what happened with Brendan is I pulled back on him, and I didn't let him participate. And this is one of the things that I would like to communicate to people, that you have to let your family participate. I would be like at 2:55 in the afternoon, I would like, because he comes home at 3:15, I would be up, showered, no matter how I felt, no matter how sick I'd been. And I don't think he quite totally was able to associate with it on some level, given his personality too. He backed up, he built walls, he, you know, didn't want to deal with it kind of thing. Whereas I didn't tell Justin because he was away at college at the time, and I wanted him to get through midterms. And that might not have been the best thing either, because he found out on the internet. People started to, I was not on the internet with it at all or any social media, but other people were. And so that kind of threw him into a real shock situation when I didn't tell him. But I wouldn't keep it a secret again. I would have just told him, you know. So that's how I told both of them. Brendan was more inclusive. Justin was, you know, I had to tell him. I think going through it together a little bit more, and the cancer person being a little more honest about how they're feeling. And, you know, and I guess there are people that, you know, they kind of like almost the attention of it. I mean, there were a couple women at radiation that a couple times the rest of us were looking at each other like, she kind of likes this, you know? So, but if you are a person like me and you're trying to keep it quiet and trying to keep it low key and stuff, I think that you would gauge it more towards the caregivers. And I think that the medical profession, they have all these cancer groups for the cancer victim. Well, cancer victim's going through it, and you know, you're doing something about it. You're in chemo brain. There's a certain element that goes into that too, that you don't even know what's going on sometimes with the chemo going through your mind and stuff, while the people around you are just staring at you going, you know, why are you being so weird? Or, you know, because you're almost in the chemo brain is that's another thing that people need to know about, is that it is likened to a dementia. Like, I don't remember the day that I lost my hair. That must have been so traumatic to me. I try to conjure that up all the time, and I cannot remember the day I spent a lot of time leading up to it, getting different, you know, wigs and doing this and that and preparing myself, but I cannot tell you the day I lost my hair. I remember getting a burning sensation the night before and then when I lost my hair, I just cannot remember it. But the caregivers and everyone around you and your family are looking at you pathetically losing your hair, and I think those are the people that kind of need to have a group, or, you know, how do I help mom lose her hair, you know? And I think that's one of the things that I would encourage the medical field to offer some more programs like that. They have tons of programs for the cancer victim. I think you got to talk to the kids and the husbands and people like that more.